welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. I am Coach Julia, and today I'm doing a video so many of you have been requesting. You've been asking for a 2-foot slalom video, both forwards and backwards. Now, I've touched on this in other videos in the past, but today we're going to get an in-depth tutorial on a 2-foot slalom going forwards and going backwards. This is a great beginner skill. So if you are a beginner skater, you're working on things like 1-foot glides, swizzles, that kind of thing, then a 2-foot slalom is going to fit right in there with those. Okay, so if you're working on forward crossovers, this is kind of that same level as those other beginner skills. So the main thing you need to be able to do is a solid 2-foot glide before this. So there's not a lot of prerequisites. But if this is your first time out on the ice, I'm going to post a link down below to what I think is the best beginner tutorial I've done. All right, so it's going to take you from stepping onto the ice, falling down, getting up, moving across the ice. So if you haven't skated before, check out the link in the description below so you can do a first timers video. But if you're a little bit farther along, you can glide on 2 feet. We can get started with this tutorial. So let's begin with the forward slalom. Now this is a move where your knees are going to be really important, okay? So we're going to have our hands about waist height, slightly forward. When you're just starting out, you want to keep the pressure forward so that we don't tip backwards and fall on our tush, okay? So put those hands about waist height, press slightly down in a low V in front of you. Now while we're doing this move, our waist is going to twist, but our hands are going to stay somewhat in front. So they're moving a little bit, but they're not really swinging around a lot. We mostly want to work on our torso twisting. So think about your hands being in a V, and you're going to turn your toes towards one palm and then towards the other palm. Okay, so you can just stand here and practice this. You can do it holding onto the wall if you'd like, but put those hands and then bend your knees and point towards one hand, stand up in the middle, bend those knees and point them at the other hand. So every time your knees are pointing at your hand, they're bent. When they come to the middle, they're straight, and then they bend again when they point to the other hand. So I want you to get used to that motion. It's going to be the same motion whether we're going forwards or backwards. So that twisting and bending is the first thing I want you to practice. Now we're going to put a little bit of movement into this. If you've ever gone skiing, it's a very similar motion to going down a ski slope. If you have not, that's no problem. We're going to get started with it, a little motion here on the ice. So the first thing I'm going to do is a swizzle to get a little momentum. These are very difficult to do from a standstill. So we're going to do a forward swizzle, get those feet together, and now I'm going to bend and twist. And when I come back, I'm going to bend and twist to the other hand. And so it's making a little snake pattern. We're going back and forth. If you follow this sort of line down the center of these curling circles, you're going to see I'm going to make a little slalom, a little swoop. So my toes are looking at one hand. I'm going to bend, push down into the ice. And when I come across the middle, I'm straight. Now I'm going to bend and be standing up straight by the time I get to the center. So the knee bend makes a little curve, then I straighten up when I get to the center, knee bend and curve, straighten up and come to the center. So I've moved lines so you can see that swoop a little bit more easily. All right, nice clear line. So you can do a swizzle to get some momentum again, but I'm just going to do it from a standstill so you can see it more clearly. So my shoulders are still facing forward. My hips and toes are facing my right hand right now. I'm going to bend my knees, push down into the ice, and then stand up when I come back. So you're bending, pushing away, and then standing up to come back. So we're bending down, pushing away, and then standing up to come back. Bend down, push away, stand up. So as I go away from that line, I'm bending, and when I go towards the line, I'm straightening. Bend away, straighten towards, bend away, straighten towards. So I'm leaning on my edges somewhat. Since both my feet are down, it's not as strong of a lean, but the foot towards the line is going to be on the outside edge slightly, and the foot away from the line is going to be on the inside. So those feet tip towards the line each time. So those feet are going to bend and tip towards the line as I do this motion, and that's going to help me make that curve. Bend, straighten, bend, straighten, bend, straighten, bend, and straighten. So the posture for this, you want to keep your weight tracking straight over the middle of your skates. So we don't want to get into our hips. That actually kind of deactivates our quad muscles, and it's going to send your shoulders and hips rocking every time you do this. Instead, try to keep those shoulders right above your hips, so when you bend your knees, your weight is still right over your skates. If your shoulders lean, now you're on your toe picks, and that's going to cause you to stop when you're going forward and drag when you're going backwards. So keep those shoulders over your hips, hips right through the center of your skate, and try to maintain the knee bend rather than the hip bend through this whole move. Let's give this another try. One more time. So we have our hands staying in the same place, getting that nice soft knee bounce, pressure into the ice, stand up, push down into the ice, stand up, twisting in the waist, bend and bend, bend and straighten, bend and straighten, bend and straighten, using the quads and the knees, not the hips. Now let's do the slalom going backwards. We're going to take that same exact concept but go backwards with it. So your weight, instead of being kind of through the heels, is going to be through the ball of the foot. Now you have to be very careful not to pitch up onto those toe picks, or it's going to drag and it's going to just kill all the momentum that you're trying to build. So just slightly forward, okay, not all the way up on your toes, but put your weight forward. When we're going forward, our weight's almost through our heels. When we're doing it backwards, we're just going to shift slightly forward so your weight is kind of under the ball of your foot, okay? So we're going to do the exact same motion, still trying to really use our quads, but we're also going to use our hamstrings a little bit more when we're going backwards than forwards. So you are going to use that hamstring. Okay, so we're doing the same thing with that motion. The hands mostly in front, our knees bending, and our toes rotating from hand to hand. But we're going backwards, so we're gonna put our feet together. I'm gonna push towards my left first. I'm gonna give myself a little push. We're bending away and straightening in. Bend away, straighten in. Use those hamstrings to help you get a little bit of backward momentum. Bending, straightening, bending away, straightening in. Now this one, the tendency is going to be even more to get down into those hips, okay? But you're not able to really activate your muscles well doing this. So as much as we want to really get seesawing with those hips, do your absolute best to try to just use those quads and keep your hips tucked under you. Keep that nice posture. If you need to do a swizzle into it to get momentum, that's fine. Bend up. Bend up. Keep those shoulders over those hips and really just focus on using your knees and your hamstrings. All right, let's do this all together again. Remember, knees, not hips. Weight through the ball of the feet. You can give yourself a swizzle for momentum if you need to, but what we're going to do is keep those hands strong, twist in the waist, bend, straighten, bend, straighten. Bending away from the line, straightening in, bend away, straighten in. Focus on the knees and the hamstrings. Keep those ankles as close together as you can, as if you just have one leg rather than two. right, skaters, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give us that thumbs up. And as always, I'm looking forward to reading all those comments of yours down in that section below. If you haven't done so yet, then hit that subscribe button and the little notification bell down in the corner so you can see all my videos when they come out. Happy skating, and I'll see you next time.